Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to GBS Beginner English with Jared Betts. I am your host, and we will have some fun today. This is lesson 1 from our book, Speak Now 3. Today, we're going to go through the book and go through the different parts of this lesson together. So, this is the only video for this week. This is week 2 of our class. This is the only video for this week, so let's get started. All right, for today's class, we're going to start off with a little bit of grammar. I know what you're saying. I know that you're going to say, oh no, teacher, we're not supposed to learn grammar. You want to learn grammar, okay. Oh, you need to learn some grammar. Okay, well, no problem. Well, I'm going to show you a little bit of grammar, but wait. Objection! You said the teacher, we're not going to be doing grammar. We're only going to study a little bit of grammar just as it needs for our book and a few highlights. So we're going to start off with a little bit of grammar, and then we'll get into our student book for today, go through the different parts of the student book, and then we'll move on to the workbook, and we'll wrap up at the very end and discuss all of this one last time. So let's get started and learn a little bit about our favorite part, grammar. All right, grammar for today. We're talking about easily confused words. These easily confused words are your and your. Now, your is a very easily confused word unless you break it down. And even native speakers, they get this one confused. Y-O-U-R is the possessive. This means this belongs to you. This is your book. This is your class. This is your chance to study. When we use you are, your, we're talking about you plus are as in the verb. You are studying. You're studying now. You're listening to my voice. You're watching my video. This is you plus are. So the easiest way to know whether or not you're supposed to use it or not, just break it apart. If you can put you are into the sentence, then you need you are, you apostrophe re. If it doesn't work, then you're going to be owning something and use y-o-u-r. And that's how you use it. So grammar, a lot of fun, not too hard. Let's move along. Now, we're going to get to our student book today. Student book, we're going to go through, look at this. This lesson is lesson 1, I'm an only child. We're talking about children and their families. So let's get into that and have some fun today. All right. Today, when we talk about your families, some of the words that we come up with things like whether you are a single person or you're a couple. If you're single, you're alone. You don't have a boyfriend, you don't have a girlfriend, you're not married, you're all by yourself. If you are a couple or married, we'll use different words later on like fiance or engaged. Engaged means that you have agreed to get married. And a fiance, after you have agreed to get married, then congratulations, you are now going to be fiance. Just like Beyonce, you're going to put a ring on it. Now, unfortunately, some people in this world, their marriages end up on the wrong side and they end up divorced. Divorced is not a good thing for most people, but for some people, it's the only way out of a bad situation. Hopefully, you end up like I do and married to a wonderful person that makes you feel like a better person. Now let's talk about children. If you are the only person in your family, you have no brothers, no sisters, then you become what's called an only child. Congratulations, you are a solo person. But if you happen to have a brother or a sister, then you might become a middle child. Now, a middle child has to have at least 3 children so that you can be between the oldest and the youngest. Now, this is also small grammar part. When you only have 2 children, you have the older and the younger. When you have 3, oldest, youngest, middle. So you have to be careful which child you're talking about. If you are the first of at least 2, then you become the firstborn child. After you get married, Your husband or wife becomes your spouse. It's a general term for both husband and wife. All right, now we're going to listen to a conversation between Isabel and John and how they describe their family. Listen to find out how many siblings that Isabel and Johnny have.
Lesson 1. I'm an only child. Page 2. Conversation. A. Listen. What is Isabel doing tonight? How many siblings does Isabel have?
Are you waiting for someone?
Yeah, my brother. He's going to give me a ride home. We're having a party for my grandmother. It's her 80th birthday.
That's nice. Do you have a large family?
I guess. Besides my mom and dad, I have 3 older brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow, you have a big family.
Do you have any siblings?
No, I'm an only child. It gets lonely sometimes.
Really? Sometimes I want to be alone.
All right, so we want to go through and listen to that conversation. So Isabel has a big family and she's going to celebrate her grandmother's 80th birthday. Now, this is a very important birthday. There's a lot of important dates that come up with our birthday times, but we'll learn about more of those in class. So let's go ahead. Now we're going to listen to this dialogue one more time. And this time we're going to add a couple of extra sentences. So as you go through, put in the missing 3 sentences as you listen. Here we go.
Are you waiting for someone? Where are you going?
Yeah, my brother. He's going to give me a ride home. We're having a party for my grandmother. It's her 80th birthday. Everyone will be there.
That's nice. Do you have a large family?
I guess. Besides my mom and dad, I have 3 older brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow, you have a big family. I didn't know that.
Do you have any siblings?
No, I'm an only child. It gets lonely sometimes.
Really? Sometimes I want to be alone.
All right. Yes, sometimes if you have a very big family, it is nice to have alone time. And you want to have that good time. You want to have that fun where you are not having to spend all your time together. Now, Isabel uses the term siblings. Siblings is a fancy word that just means your brothers and your sisters. So you can have 2 brothers, 2 sisters, 1 brother, 1 sister. Your sibling just describes that you have brother or sister. All right. Now let's talk about the language booster. Now, when we use questions, there are 2 ways that we can ask questions. We can ask a closed question, which is asking for a yes or no answer, or an open question where we want more information. When we use a closed question, for example, do you have a large family? We're only looking for a yes or no answer. In a closed question, your voice goes up at the end. Do you have a large family? Yes, I do. It's closed, so your voice will go up at the end of the sentence. If you're asking an open question, your voice will tend to go down. Are you the firstborn? Your voice tends to go down towards the end of the sentence. Yes, I'm the firstborn. How many members are in your family? Your voice goes down because we want an open answer. So when you talk about your family, think about how many people are there. Now, when we describe our family, we usually describe only the people that we live with. So when I talk about my family is my wife, myself, and my 10 children, my 3 dogs, 3 cats, and 4 birds. That's my family. If you said, Oh, but teacher, don't you have brothers and sisters? And don't you have your father or mother? Well, my father is still alive, but he is part of my family, but he doesn't live with me. So I don't include him as my direct family. He's someplace far away. I usually only include the people that I live with as my direct and immediate family. Okay, so when you talk about this in class, you're going to talk about it with your partners, talk about your family that you live with as your direct and immediate family. Then look down here at the bottom. We've got Rachel and Sam and Tristan. Think about how these people might behave. Think about whether or not they're single or engaged. Pretend to be these people. You don't have to get the right answers. We're not looking for the right answers, but are they single? Are they married? What can you tell me about those people? Now, pronunciation. This is a very hard and fun part. Pronunciation, when we are putting a question or sentence together, the word or idea that we want most emphasized, we give more stress to. And we can change the meaning of a sentence just by changing the stress. First, listen to this, and then I'll show you what I mean about changing the stress.
Page 3. Pronunciation. A. Listen and practice. Notice how we stress the words that carry the most meaning in a sentence. 1,
I have an older brother.
2,
Sandra has never been married.
All right, so in those two sentences, let's take the first one, for example. I have an older brother. The emphasis is the older brother. We can also say, if asked, I have an older brother, meaning that this is, I do have it. Question was, do you have an older brother? Do you have a brother? I have an older brother. That's have is most important. Oh, do you have a brother? I have an older brother. Older is now the most important part. Oh, do you have a brother or sister? I have an older brother. Brother is now most important. So depending on what word you're actually answering, your voice is more stressed on that one word. So listen to the second part and see if you can find which words are stressed.
Page 3. Pronunciation. B. Listen. Underline the stressed words. Then practice the sentences. 1,
Are you an only child?
2,
Roger is the baby of the family.
All right, so in that first sentence, are you an only child? Only is the most important word. So we want to know, are you an only child? Do you have any brothers or sisters? And the second one says, Roger is the baby of the family. Now that one, we want to know the person's name and where they are in the birth order. They are the baby. But we can also say Roger is the baby in the family. We want to know is Roger the baby? Roger is the baby in the family. But if we ask, who's the baby in the family? Roger is the baby in the family. And Roger's the most important. So listen to that. Usually you'll get the most important information as the most stressed word in a sentence. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit in class. We'll talk about your family, and we'll learn a little bit about who you are, and you'll learn a little bit about my family as well. You'll ask people in the class, do they have brothers or sisters? Are they older or are they younger? We want to know, how many siblings do people have? If they have a big family, or do they have a small family? And we want to know about your parents. Do your parents have siblings? If your parents have siblings, guess what? That makes them your aunts and your uncles. Do your grandparents have siblings? Your grand uncle or grand aunt? Don't worry, we'll talk more about family when we get to the class time. So talk about the similarities between your family and other people's families. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now it comes to our favorite time. Okay, Yes. Okay. Thank you. No, God. But we have to get to the workbook. So let's go through. Let's take a look at what you're going to be doing in the workbook. To do the workbook, the first part, look at the vocabulary. You're going to need to take the vocabulary words and match it to its definition. So we have single. Single meaning somebody who is not engaged, who doesn't have a boyfriend, and is not married. So a person who is not married. Usually it means not married and doesn't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, but just the not married part would be single. Then we can go through, we've got engaged, divorced, fiance, fiancé. Now these two words, they're pronounced the exact same way, but they've got, one has the extra E. Now, you don't really need the extra E. Most people, fiance and fiancé, we don't really make a big difference between the masculine and feminine form unless you are very fluent in French. But for the most part, fiancé, the first part is what we use for everybody. A spouse. Spouse is a general term for your husband or wife. Middle child, firstborn child, and only child. Try to match it to its definition and make sure that you know which word goes where. Now, second part, you're going to look at the conversation, read it to yourself, and figure out which word from part one best finishes the sentence. Now, there can be more than one correct answer to finish the sentence. Let's see if you can find the best answer. So the first one starts, "Hi, Matt. The other day I saw someone who looks just like you." You have a sister who's about 20 years old? Now, in fact, I don't have any brothers or sisters. I am
denied.
Okay, I'm not going to give you the actual answer, but this is where you can put your own answer into there. I am a blank. You have 4 questions to do that with, 4 little dialogues. Read them, use the context clues to get your information on who and what goes in the blank. All right, the reading section. I want you to read this out loud, read it to yourself to practice it. Now, I'm going to read it out loud into the recording so that you can hear it, but I want you to practice reading it on your own out loud as well. So this is English Practice Pals, 9/28/2012 or September 28th, 2012, 9:34. Now, when you see this, it means 9:34 a.m. 0934 is using military time. In this case, we're using the 24-hour clock. We'll talk a little bit more about this later on in the semester, but in this case, it's 0934, it's morning time. Denarian, DC, at getmail.com. So it starts off, "Hi, I'm looking for someone to practice Japanese with. I can teach you English. I live in Washington, D.C., and my family is originally from Brazil, but I was born in the United States. My family lives here too. I am the firstborn. I have 2 younger brothers who are still in high school. I want to learn Japanese because I'm moving to Tokyo in January. I recently got engaged. My fiance has a new job and he has to move to Tokyo for 1 year. He works for an electrical company and they have an office there. Our wedding is in 1 month. I'm very excited, but I'm also nervous. I have never been to Asia. I have never been married before. I will feel more confident when I can speak some Japanese. I want to learn about the culture too. If you're interested in practicing English as you teach me some Japanese, please send me a message, Denora." All right, so then look at the questions and answer whether the question is true or false. So Denora was born in Brazil, and you're going to tell me that the answer is okay. I'm not going to give you the answer, but you can tell what the answer is by looking back at the reading and finding the correct answer. Now, this is the most important part of your work. Don't forget to do this part of your workbook. Part 1 says, do you think this is a good way to find someone? This is looking at that written part that we just talked about. Is this a good way to find a language partner that you can work with? If it is, Let's go find some partners. You can do that with partners on campus. And what kind of information would you post if you're looking for it? Then part 2, actually write a post that you would introduce yourself and look for a partner that you want to speak Korean and English with, or if you speak another language, you want to speak a third or fourth language with them. Then when you get to class, change books with people. See what other people have written. Have them write their answer in your book. You write their answer in their book. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, today we've started off with a little bit of extra grammar where we talked about the confusing words your and your. We went through the student book where we talked a little bit about family. We'll talk more about family when you get to class next week. And we did the workbook where we went step by step through the workbook. That's our wrap up for today. So ladies and gentlemen, you are doing great. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time. Have fun. Bye-bye.